Hello and welcome. Tonight, more political bigwigs jostle to fly the APC presidential ticket. Former Governor of Ogun State, Amosun, declares at a well-attended event in Abuja. Vice President Professor Osinbajo and Pastor Tunde Bakare pick APC expression of interest and nomination forms as they prepare for the presidential primary. Electoral umpire INEC puts political parties on notice, says there will be no extension on the timelines for the conduct of primaries. And President Muhammadu Buhari commissions project in Ebonyi State, commends Governor Umahi on the quality of projects in the state.
And on business news tonight, Central Bank of Nigeria directs banks to implement enhanced measures on transactions related to Benin Republic.
On sports news tonight, Nigeria faces France, Canada and South Korea in the 2022 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in Costa Rica.
And from Abuja, tragedy in Katsina State following the death of at least 15 persons when the boat they were traveling in capsized in Meadwa local government area.
From London, Ukraine's army says Russia is trying to destroy the remaining soldiers holed up in the Azovstal steel plant in Mariupol.
Well, the race for the presidential ticket under the All Progressives Congress continues with the growing list of participants who are vying for the nation's top job. And one of the entrants who believes he is the best man for the job is the former governor of Ogun State, Senator Amosun, who reels out his national economic blueprint. Senator Amosun made a case for his candidature during an official declaration for the office of president at an event attended by top politicians, senior citizens, among others, in Abuja. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
Senator Amosun and his wife arrived at the Yaradua Center, Abuja, where a crowd of supporters have converged as early as 8 a.m. Top politicians, captains of industry, the representative of the wife of the president, traditional rulers, friends and families are also in attendance.
Now we acknowledge each and every one of you.
Governor Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti State, who is also a presidential aspirant, is present as a show of solidarity.
Representative of the...
One after another, the guests give their testimonies on the personality and leadership qualities of Senator Amosun, describing him as an achiever, dependable and reliable.
Senator Amosun is a person of courage, is a person of generosity, is a person who has demonstrated himself both in and outside government.
We need a president that will build industries, that will make the light to come on. I believe in Senator Amosun. I believe he can do it. It's not a question of gainsaying. I believe he has what it takes, and I believe he can deliver.
For Governor Fayemi, he and Senator Amosun share the same vision.
He's not a manipulative person. He's not a disingenuous person. I've just been reading advanced copy of the speech that my brother will deliver later to this august audience. And I'm struck by the similarities to the speech that I also gave yesterday. It shows that we come from the same ideological orientation and that we believe ultimately in improving the condition of our own people.
The event features cultural performances, including an Akwa Ibom cultural troupe made up of little children. Their display captivates Senator Amosun as he joins them on the stage.
For presidency,
he announces his intention and his leadership goal, which focuses on national security and economic development.
Today, I'm formally announcing my candidacy for the presidential ticket of our great party, the All Progressive Congress, and the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I do so conscious of the immensity of the task that lie ahead in our country and the magnitude of the sacrifices that anybody who wishes to lead our country into the next phase must make. Under my leadership, I will consolidate on the ongoing processes by broadening and deepening, and where necessary, rebuilding the all-encompassing, coherent and comprehensive security structure to confront the different facets of our national security concerns and achieve the different fundamental purposes of national security. Our efforts will be focused on a series of urgent tasks, including transitioning to a post-oil economy, building a modern, sustainable, and rapidly rising agro-industrial economy, becoming a globally competitive economy by taking advantage of the global development of technology and building a culture of innovation.
Then he makes his declaration.
Assured of the infinite grace of God, convinced about the actualization of the potential greatness of our country, and confident about my vision and capacity to lead this country, I, Senator Ibikunle Oyelaja Oluwatoyin Akanwo Durorike Mohammed Iklil, do ask you, my dear compatriots, particularly members of our great party, the All Progressive Congress, to support my bid for the presidential ticket of our great party APC, and ultimately the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Senator Ibikunle Amosun was a two-term governor of Ogun State and a two-term senator, currently representing Ogun Central. He hopes with his promissory note delivered, he will be able to clinch the ticket of the All Progressives Congress when the party holds its primaries in a matter of weeks to come. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
In the meantime, there were lots of activities at the National Secretariat of the All Progressives Congress in Abuja as more aspirants pick up their nomination and expression of interest forms. Earlier today, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, moved a step further in the realization of his ambition by picking up his presidential form. Although he was not at the Secretariat physically, Senator Kabiru Gaya obtained the presidential nomination and expression of interest form on his behalf. Also walking the talk to realize his aspiration to lead Nigeria is Pastor Tunde Bakare of the Citadel Global Community Church. Pastor Bakare, who was running mate to President Buhari in 2011, also picked his presidential nomination form. Our correspondent Dele Omoyeni has more.
The Vice President was not physically present, but his campaign coordinator, Senator Kabiru Gaya, was at hand to pick up the expression of interest and nomination forms. And for him, this is an indication of progress ahead of the primaries.
I believe it's a matter of give and take. We have served for the president in this country for 8 years under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari. So therefore, the presidency should go to the south. And that's why we said the best able person to handle this matter is somebody who has been in the system. If he's sworn in today at the Eagle Square, by tomorrow morning he can pick up because he's already in the system.
For Pastor Tunde Bakare, another presidential hopeful, he's joining the race to make a difference as he's at the ICC in company of his supporters to pick up his forms.
Those who love truly our people, especially the poor, will rise to fix our nation. Many people run in the race. Only one will take the crown. There's only one seat. Whoever takes it, the rest of us must rise and join the person to build. East, west, north, south. Nigeria is my home. Thank you very much.
The party also welcomes its first youth aspirant who took advantage of the discount given by the party to pick up his own forms as he joins the presidential race.
I feel it's quite a commendable step, and giving the youth 50%. Of course, I would have wished they do the same to us as they did to the women, giving us for free. Well, at least I commend their effort for giving us 50% of the nomination form itself, not the expression of interest, but the nomination form. The youth were given discount, and I fall in that category.
Although the party is yet to respond to repeated inquiries about a page in the nomination forms with the heading Letter of Voluntary Withdrawal, which suggests that some aspirants might be prevailed upon to step down later. This has not deterred many aspirants from purchasing the forms of the party. Dele Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
And staying with the race, Calabar, the Cross River State capital, is the Vice President's latest port of call in continuation of his consultation of the All Progressives Congress delegates. In company of the host governor, Ben Ayade, Professor Osinbajo visits the Obong of Calabar, where he assures the monarch of tackling security and economic challenges.
Vice President Professor Osinbajo alighting from the plane to the waiting hands of Cross River State government officials led by Governor Ben Ayade. He's then led to the palace of the Obong of Calabar as part of his consultations ahead of the APC primaries later this month.
Let me use the opportunity, sir, just to mention.
His host, Governor Ayade himself, a presidential hopeful, makes a case for a southern president as the monarch proposes what can unlock the state's economic potential.
As you are aware, I've even made personal enemies from my best of friends because of my position that power must go to the south. The only man who has stood with me that way very strongly is Prince Godi Jediagba, who has said my decision that power should go to the south is the right thing and he will stand with me. So, Mr. Vice President, we believe in a same spirit of justice and fairness that indeed our national party will also see that power goes to the southern part of Nigeria.
The economy of this state, whether we like it or not, depends on this river. We were born and brought up here, and all our progress and all that we did depended on this river. And it bothers people like us that we are not looking at Nigeria in totality. We are sectionalizing it because this port was built and it's useless. If it opens up and everything flows, then Lagos will be something that everybody will start living there to come back here to Calabar.
Professor Osinbajo acknowledges the gaps in the country with an assurance that it can be resolved.
Every country is faced with peculiar challenges, every nation. And those challenges, in our case, we are faced with security challenges and economic challenges as well. But we also know that we're equipped, and God himself equips us with all the necessary resources to meet and defeat every challenge. And that is our lot today. And I believe very strongly that God helping us, every one of our challenges, the security challenges and the economic challenges, will not only be met, but will be stepping stones for a greater nation, for a more prosperous nation.
The Vice President is expected to continue his nationwide consultations to woo party delegates ahead of the APC primaries.
And for the main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party, its presidential aspirant, Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State, has admitted that the issue of zoning in the party does not bother him. Governor Mohammed was in Edo State to meet Governor Godwin Obaseki and the PDP delegates for their support ahead of the party's primaries. On his part, Governor Godwin Obaseki says that Edo PDP will abide by the decision taken by the national body on zoning.
I know that there is need for equity and justice and fairness, and I know the PDP, for which I am a member, and that there is no inhibition in terms of zoning or anything for that matter. And we are ready at any point if there is a decision by leaders like you as to where it will go, but that is if it is not late, to abide by the decision of the party. And that's why, based on the timeline and timetable, we are coming out to meet the delegates, especially leaders like you, to offer ourselves. It is not that we are the best, but certainly we are ready to serve the people.
For us in Edo, we are PDP. And we want our party to produce the next president. And whatever the party agrees to do, as long as it's fair and just, we in Edo will support.
In part two, after the break, President Muhammadu Buhari commissions project in Ebonyi State, commends Governor Umahi on the state-of-the-art structures in Ebonyi State. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. More political bigwigs jostle to fly the APC presidential ticket. Former Governor of Ogun State, Senator Ebonyi Amosun, declares at a well-attended event in Abuja. Vice President Professor Osinbajo and Pastor Tunde Bakare pick APC expression of interest in nomination forms as they prepare for the presidential primary. Electoral umpire INEC puts political parties on notice, says there will be no extension on the timelines for the conduct of primaries. And President Muhammadu Buhari commissions projects in Ebonyi State, commends Governor Umahi on the quality of projects there. And for the commission tasked with conducting the 2023 general elections, INEC, the deadline for political party primaries will not be extended beyond Friday, June the 3rd, 2022. The Electoral Commission had on February 26 this year released the timetable and schedule of activities for the 2023 general election. According to INEC, all 18 political parties have served the required notices indicating the dates for their conventions, congresses and primaries as specified in the Constitution and the Electoral Act. In a statement by INEC's chairman on information and voter education, Mr. Festus Okoye, nominations for presidential and National Assembly elections shall be submitted through the INEC web portal from 10th to 17th June 2022, while governorship and state houses of assembly nominations will be submitted between the 1st 15th July 2022. President Muhammadu Buhari has commended the Ebonyi State government for executing what he describes as life-changing projects for the economic transformation of the state. He made the assertion during the inauguration of the King David University of Medical Sciences and the King David University Twin Flyover, among other projects in the state capital, Abakaliki. On his part, Governor David Umahi says his government will continue to support the federal government's economic diversification drive through state-of-the-art projects.
This is President Muhammadu Buhari's second visit to Ebonyi State in the last 5 years. Just like his first time, the president is again here to commission some legacy projects executed by the David Umahi administration to drive investment in the state. He was received by the governor in the company of the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, as well as other top government officials.
This is the medical university block. The entire infrastructure you're seeing constructed by us with the assistance of Mr. President on those Center of Excellence I mentioned. But this infrastructure is about 3 years old, constructed by our government through direct labor.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for associating the federal government with this your excellent performance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
16 projects are being inaugurated, including the King David School of Medical Sciences and Flyover Bridge in Uburu, Ohauzara local government area of the state.
This building you see is the hospital section of the university. We just came from the Centers of Excellence. But under here you have all kinds of medical departments, including heart surgery department, including the best MRI you can find anywhere in the world, including the artificial, beds.
Well, you have reported me to our constituency, so there's nothing I can do but to commission it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
President Buhari's 2-day working visit to Ebonyi State is expected to usher in fresh hopes that his government is committed to investing in infrastructure projects important to the southeast region.
Later in the day, after the project commissioning, the president was hosted to a state banquet by the Ebonyi State government at the Ecumenical Center in Abakaliki. It was a relaxed atmosphere with traditional dances and other forms of entertainment. The president gives his assessment as he rounds off the first of his 2-day working visit to the state.
have noted the significant projects executed by Your Excellency in the last 7 years. You have done your people proud. I am pleased by the economic development records of the state under your administration. The wonderful network of roads, critical infrastructure, and investment opportunities that have created in the state. I have noted the progress in the Economic Performance Index of the state, particularly the Budget Office rating and the SFTAS commendable records about your budgeting principles. It shows you have zero tolerance for corruption and waste of public funds. I have decided to accept the offer of your government to take over the University of Medical Sciences as a federal medical university. The process is on hand and will be concluded soon.
To other stories, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NERC) has given some distribution companies approval to increase their tariff rates. The DISCOs given the go-ahead include Port Harcourt Electricity Distribution Company (PHEDC). We also have the Electricity Distribution Company in Jos, Kano, the one in Kaduna, the Electricity Distribution Company in Ikeja, and the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company. The new approval took effect from January the 1st, 2022, but the new rates from February this year. And according to the document, the power sector regulator based the increase on the performance improvement plans of the DISCOs and indices such as gas price, inflation, exchange rate, U.S. inflation rate, and available generation capacity. Well, still on the increase in electricity tariff, which is 5 out of the 11 electricity distribution companies. Our next report takes a look at the history of electricity tariff hike over the last 6 years and the attendant impact on Nigerians.
Between 2016 and 2021, there have been increase in electricity tariff by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission 3 times, with the last one in January the 1st, 2021, which had an increment of about 25% and above. That hike meant an increase from 2 naira to 4 naira in some bands across the 11 distribution companies. Of course, many Nigerians protested, wondering why they had to pay more for less supply, and in some places, epileptic power.
Small sleep outside. At times it did break because there is no light. At least if there is light, we on our fan. But presently there is no any light. We normally sleep outside.
Days later, the federal government suspended that increase, and now there's another increase. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission is giving Port Harcourt Electricity Distribution Company, Jos Electricity Distribution Company, Kano, Kaduna, Ikeja and Ibadan Electricity Distribution Companies approval to increase their tariff rates. Like the reason given for previous hike, government cites indices like gas price, inflation, exchange rate, and performance improvement plans of the DISCOs. By this order, customers who, for instance, paid 56 naira 16 kobo per kilowatt will now pay 59 naira 64 kobo per kilowatt. Judging by previous experience, small, medium, and conglomerate business bear the brunt.
So power is a big problem.
As of March 2022, the federal government gives the figure of electricity generated daily at 8,000 megawatt, a far cry from the 40,000 megawatt that was the target when the power sector was privatized by the federal government on November the 1st, 2013.
Well, to take a further look at the recent hike in electricity tariffs and how this will affect consumers, we're being joined on the news at 10 by Managing Director, CEO of CCS Technologies, Engineer Arthur Usiagu. Thank you for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you, Millicent.
I'd like to begin the implication of this new tariff to private citizens, small businesses in the country.
Well, if you look at what is happening, you will know that the amount of naira in the pockets of Nigerians has actually dwindled for so long. And increasing electricity tariff at this stage is a little bit insensitive on the part of government, because we are talking about increase in electricity, increase in price of premium motorist spirit, increase in domestic gas, and at the same time, the minimum wage is still a problem for many state governments to pay. So where do government expect citizens, to, rake in these monies to be able to pay these colossal increment in these utilities? It is something that is going to really affect the pockets of citizens of Nigeria.
You say colossal. Break it down as to comparing the rates before February and now.
Basically, it's just taking effect now, but the truth is that it started since the beginning of the year. And you know the level of what people are passing through in the economy today. And government is increasing electricity tariff, even if the level of increment is within 5 to about 7%. But that is quite a lot. It's quite a lot compared to the amount of money that is coming into the pockets of Nigerians, at this stage, with the level of the economy that everybody is really complaining that things are quite difficult. So for this increment at this time of the year, I think it's quite insensitive on the part of government.
Some would argue that in terms of their service, they are perhaps doing better, this 5, than the others.
If you look at the multi-year tariff order for the NERC, if you look at, because it was bettered by the Electricity Reform Act of 2005, Section 32, subsection D, talks about taking Nigerian consumers into confidence. Before you make an increase, the idea is for NERC to look at all the indices, putting the consumers in mind before any increment. But how much has come into the pockets of Nigerians? I mean, looking at the level of increase vis-a-vis the way the economy is going. So it has not really helped matters.
And many might be wondering, those that do not have prepaid meters, what happens to them?
That is another kettle of fish, because those who don't have prepaid meters, they are at the mercies of the discos. So you are aware that whatever the disco put across to them is what they pay. And if they don't pay, it becomes a problem. So the metering would have been, a scientific approach to actually, pick up the real consumption of the consumers. But what is happening now? The level of metering in this country is still less than 42%. So we still have high ponderance of meter unavailability across all discos, whether it's Ikeja or Benin or Port Harcourt. It's still a problem that is pervasive across the country.
I'd like to appreciate your time. Thank you so much. CEO CCS Technologies, Engineer Arthur Usiagu, thank you so much for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we're off to Abuja now, where Markwe Yusuf has some more stories. Hi, Markwe.
Hello, Millicent. Well, a tragedy in the northwestern state of Katsina leads our stories tonight, as at least 15 people have reportedly drowned in a boat mishap when a canoe conveying them across Sakbe Dam capsized at a section of the river in Meadwa local government area. A funeral prayer has been conducted for the victims. The Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Yao Umar Gwajo, who was among those who attended the funeral service, commiserated with the families. And down in the southwest, the Ayorinde and Dosumu families, owners of the defective building on number 24 Ibadan Street, Ebute Metta, which collapsed on the 1st of May, have absolved themselves of any wrongdoing in the tragedy. Representatives of the family spoke with our correspondent, Bukola Samuel Wemimo, at the site of the collapsed structure, where they also provided documents to back up their claim.
It's been 2 days since the tragedy occurred, and things may have returned to normal, or so it seems.
Behind me is number 24 Ibadan Street, here in Ebutemeta, site of the building that went down on the night of the 1st of May. It may seem like things have returned to normal, with scavengers picking up stuff from the rubbles, ironically making quick sale from what seems to be a tragedy. But really, the community is in mourning.
When approached, residents initially refrained from making comments on the tragedy on camera, but in hushed tones, an anonymous bystander alleges in audio recordings obtained by Channels Television that the state government is complicit in the building collapse tragedies.
They can mark the buildings in exchange for money.
Then the landlords arrive the scene and are only too willing to share what they know.
They gave me a letter, then said that the house is distressed. I said, then give them notice, let them go. I think they have been on them. 1, 2, 3. They have been on it, giving them notice, but they won't go. So it was just Monday morning, this Monday morning, I saw his phone call. Leke Dosun. I said, what is Leke disturbing me for early in the morning? Said, just let me pick. Sister,
we are marked to give the people at flats to 200,000 to support them. The one in the room and parlor, 150,000 to support them. The one in the rooms, 100,000. The ones in the shops, 50,000. We have series of meetings with them. About 4 times we had a meeting with them.
They also present pictures showing the defective state of the apartments inside the building, with which the tenants were adequately warned.
Although it's our family house, if I enter that building at times, I will not spend more than 2 minutes. I will take to my heels that this building is not safe, for God's sake.
Some other residents say the occupants of the collapsed building were forewarned in many other ways.
Even churches have been giving them message. Even a mad woman came at that afternoon that this house doesn't have glory. This house doesn't have glory. They pursued that woman. It is a message.
Further down Ibadan Street is the building on number 32, shown in the now viral video on social media, which a bulldozer was set to demolish, but may have been spared because some occupants were sighted in the balcony area.
At the same time, they were giving that building there, at that junction, they gave them enough notice. They were giving the notices the same time, and look at them, they have not left.
The building on number 32 Ibadan Street is still occupied by tenants, and the one right next to it on number 34 is also marked distressed, but seems deserted. There are at least 3 other buildings on Ibadan Street which also seem distressed, but have not yet been so marked by the government. Most of the buildings here are high-rise and erected in dangerous proximity to each other. As at the time of filing this report, I reached out to an official of the Lagos State Building Control Agency who pleaded for time before an official statement can be made. While residents continue to occupy number 32 Ibadan Street in apparent defiance of the alarm raised about its defective state, and which also gained traction on social media. In view of this, one can only wonder how long more before another tragedy occurs. Bukola Samuel Wemimo for Channels Television News.
In the southeast, 49 days into the administration of the Anambra State Governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, the promise of rebuilding and transforming Anambra into a prosperous homeland comes to the fore once again. In an interactive meeting with traditional rulers, community people, women and youth leaders in Awka, the state capital, Governor Soludo reiterates his administration's commitment to policies and projects that will drive the socio-economic development of the state. And that's all from Abuja. It's back to you, Millicent.
Thanks, Mark. And to some company news now. One of Nigeria's leading financial institutions, Fidelity Bank PLC, has announced a 35 kobo dividend for its shareholders. The chairman of Fidelity Bank PLC disclosed this during the bank's 34th annual general meeting at Eco Hotel and Suites in Victoria Island. Mr. Chike Obi says the 2021 financial performance reflects the company's growth drive, which was achieved through digital innovation.
Only a selected number of shareholders are in attendance as Fidelity Bank PLC holds its 34th annual general meeting in Lagos. Financial performance for the year ended December the 31st, 2021, re-election of directors, statutory audits committee report and declaration of dividend for shareholders form the major highlights for this year's meeting.
We had our best year in our history last year, and so we're paying the largest dividend we've ever paid in the history of the bank, 35 kobo per share. We hope to do better. We're not quite where we want to be, but we will do better.
With a financial growth of 26.1% of gross earnings, cost-to-income ratio stands at 64.9%, profit before tax 35.7%, while after tax is 35.6 billion naira for the year under review.
Fidelity Bank is one of the most attractive stock in Nigerian Stock Exchange Limited today.
The financial highlights says it well, and the 35 kobo dividend, not bad, but we can do better. We are for the resolution, which is to elect Ms.
Next on the agenda is the determination of the status of board members. Mustafa Chike Obi stays on as non-executive director and other re-elections.
I congratulate our chairman, Mr. Mustafa Chike Obi, on his re-election and yield the chair to him to continue the meeting. Congratulations, Mr. Chairman.
Other announcements made include the introduction of innovative products for customers and micro, small and medium enterprises.
You raise revenues and you reduce costs. We did both. That's why we had better profits. We have a long way to go in reducing costs, and we're trying to raise revenues. That's much more difficult, but we're working on new products, better services, and a more efficient operational system.
Fidelity Bank PLC is ranked 6th largest bank in Nigeria as it aspires to expand beyond the shores of the country.
Unilever Nigeria PLC, one of the nation's leading manufacturers of consumer goods, has declared a dividend of 50 kobo for its shareholders. The chairman of the company, His Royal Majesty Emeka Achebe, disclosed this at its 97th annual general meeting in Lagos. The manufacturing giant has also promised to sustain the business gains of 2021 for its teeming shareholders.
Rendering accounts of business performance is statutory for publicly quoted companies, and that's exactly what Unilever Nigeria PLC is doing at its 97th annual general meeting in Lagos, which is hybrid.
Ladies and gentlemen, as it is the custom of our annual general meeting,
top management staff, representatives of auditing firms, regulatory agencies are present. A few shareholders are also in the hall as attendance is by proxy, occasioned by the COVID-19 protocols. The first agenda is a proposal for dividend.
the board has recommended a dividend of 2.8 billion naira. That is 50 kobo per share, subject to the deduction of appropriate withholding taxes and other statutory deductions in compliance with government guidelines for the year ended 31st December 2021.
We have 100%.
With this settled, 2021 figures show a turnover of 70.5 billion naira, a 35% growth compared to the turnover in 2020. Gross profit rose to 20.4 billion naira against 11.1 billion naira in 2020 and recorded profit of 3.4 billion naira, a growth occasioned by the implementation of right strategies.
The business is now in a better place in terms of the fundamentals. We have invested behind the brands. We have controlled our liquidity.
Now it's time to vote. Over 8 resolutions are on the list, and this done electronically with the results displayed. While the 90-year-old company is happy that it has moved from the losses in 2020, a sustainability plan is in place.
You know, they have people with purpose, making sure that they are energized in ensuring that we deliver a positive social impact in the communities that we operate in. So that is what we will continue to deliver to the Nigerian consumers in 2022.
Unilever Nigeria PLC manufactures and markets consumer products such as Omo washing powder, Sunlight washing powder, Close-Up toothpaste, among other products.
Teniola Buhari is standing by with more business stories.
Thanks a lot, Millicent. Welcome to Business News. Nigeria's central bank has directed banks in the country to be vigilant regarding transactions related to Benin Republic, as reports suggest the West African country is increasingly becoming a drug trafficking transit and consumption hub. In a circular, the CBN directed banks to implement additional measures on customers and business relationships linked to the country. These include reclassification of related customers and transactions as high risk, as well as conduct of enhanced due diligence procedures. Indigenous conglomerate Transcorp has released its financial results for the first quarter of this year, showing solid performance within the period. According to key highlights of its latest unaudited earnings report, the company's profit before tax, which stood at 2.5 billion naira in March last year, jumped by 129% to 5.7 billion naira, while profit after tax rose significantly by 147% to 5 billion naira within the comparative period. At the same time, the company's revenue increased by 28% to 31.4 billion naira. Operating income grew by 45% to 10 billion naira as at the end of March this year. The equities market has sustained its bullish trend as investors buy interest in MTN Nigeria and Guinness spurred gains. John Mekwa has the details.
Thank you so much. Welcome to the stock market report. We're building on the gains of the previous session. The NGX pushed further into the positive territory at the close of Thursday's trading. The all-share index is really close to that 51,000 level, up almost 1.5%. And we still have the bull in that celebration. That boost spreads to the investors as the market value gained 383 billion naira today only. Wow, great one there. And today's value was really impressive. Also, it went from 6 billion yesterday to over 8 billion today. That's up 39%. However, we see a drop in value and volume. That's investors' toast of the season. The consumer goods counter is really glowing, with the price of Guinness increasing by a whole 10 naira after it traded almost 6 million volume of its shares at 619 million naira. Nigerian Brewers follows with 6 naira 25 kobo added to its share price. And after this, we also have MTN Nigeria. We cannot overlook the impact it has had on the market. It gained 13 naira on its share price today. Certainly puts smiles on the faces of investors today. Well, while the consumer goods shone really bright today, industrial goods, it was shining, but not so much. But the banking flipped with Tier 1 lenders Zenith and GTCO shedding 15 kobo and 45 kobo respectively from their share prices. Now, with the financial sector dominating top trades by volume, this suggests that maybe investors have started taking profit from that counter. But the market is still basking in the new highs, attributed to renewed interest of local investors as the NGX beckons on even more investors. That's the stock market report. I'm John Mekwa.
And that's Business News tonight. It's back to Millicent.
Thank you, Teniola. Russian President Vladimir Putin says Ukraine should order its fighters remaining in Mariupol's Azovstal steel plant to put down their weapons and surrender. According to Ukrainian fighters, around 200 civilians are still trapped inside. For more on this and other stories, here's Simon Pusey with Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Ukraine's army says Russia is trying to destroy the remaining soldiers holed up in the Azovstal steelworks plant in Mariupol. The steelworks is the last remaining place in the key city held by Ukrainian forces. Around 200 soldiers are injured inside the compound, and conditions are reported to be particularly bleak, with supplies of food and medicine running out fast. The commander of the far-right Azov regiment said they were fighting difficult, bloody battles against Russian troops. Russia's Ministry of Defense claims they have killed over 600 Ukrainians overnight. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said a further 344 civilians have been evacuated from Mariupol. Russia's defense ministry has released footage of a nighttime rehearsal of the country's annual Victory Day parade, which commemorates the Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany in the Second World War. Military personnel and military vehicles, including tanks and missile launchers, paraded on Wednesday evening through Moscow's central Red Square. This year's parade, on May the 9th, will take place against the backdrop of what Russia calls its special military operation in Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin is due to deliver a speech and oversee the military parade. Rescuers in the central Chinese city of Changsha have pulled a woman alive from the rubble of a 6-story building 6 days after it collapsed. She was conscious during her extraction just after midnight and advised rescuers how to bring her out safely. 10 people are known to have survived the disaster, but at least 5 were killed and dozens are still missing. Arrests have been made as the building's safety is investigated. Colombia has extradited Dairo Antonio Usaga, an accused drug trafficker and leader of the Clan del Golfo criminal gang, to the United States. Known as Otonio, authorities say the 50-year-old is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of members of Colombia's security forces and is wanted in the United States for crimes including drug trafficking, conspiracy and illegal possession of weapons.
Que ha sido extraditado.
Colombian authorities say he trafficked between 180 and 200 tons of cocaine a year with the Clan del Golfo. He was detained last October in Antioquia province. Millions of people are expected to take part in elections across the UK after polling stations opened on Thursday morning for the local elections. Voters in England, Scotland and Wales will choose the local councillors they want to run services that affect their everyday lives in the area. Here, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson casting his vote in central London, while the leader of the opposition, Sir Keir Starmer, cast his ballot alongside his wife. It's seen as a bellwether for what the electorate think of Boris Johnson and the current Conservative government. Most results should be known by Friday evening. Severe storms have caused several tornadoes across Oklahoma, causing widespread damage in Seminole County.
Some structures or some homes, but we'll watch it.
The Storm Prediction Center said the storms were part of a severe weather system forecast to threaten parts of central and southwest Oklahoma into North Texas. Damage captured by aerial cameras showed some structures completely flattened and streets littered with debris about 50 miles southeast of Oklahoma City. More than 14,000 customers have been left without power after severe weather conditions downed power lines and trees across the state. Pope Francis has used a wheelchair in public for the first time since a new flare-up of pain in his knee has limited his ability to walk. At an audience for a group of nuns, Francis was wheeled to his seat on the stage. Since the latest flare-up in the past 2 months, he had been able to walk some 10 meters from the side entrance of the stage to his seat at the centre, albeit with a little help from aides. And finally, 3 years later than scheduled, Top Gun is back, and so too is its leading man. Tom Cruise, who is no stranger to stunts, arrived via helicopter onto an aircraft carrier in San Diego for the film's premiere. Top Gun Maverick was originally scheduled for release in July 2019, but was initially delayed because of production issues. Then its release was pushed back numerous times because of the global pandemic.
Those are your pilots.
The sequel returns 36 years after the iconic first film, which saw Cruise propelled to stardom. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. In the UEFA Europa League, Eintracht Frankfurt have qualified for the final after beating West Ham United 1-0 to progress 3-1 on aggregate. Victor continues. Rangers' dream season in Europe will culminate in a final against Eintracht Frankfurt after they swept aside RB Leipzig at Ibrox. The final will hold on May the 18th at the Ramon Sanchez Stadium in Seville. And Nigeria's Falconets have been drawn in Group C of the 2022 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup. The Falconets will face France, Canada and South Korea in what has been described as a tricky group. And it's 200 days to go until the 2022 FIFA World Cup kicks off in Qatar on November the 21st. With a little over 6 months to go for the first ever World Cup in the Middle East and only the second World Cup in Asia, the excitement levels are going up day by day. As part of the 200-day countdown, the FIFA World Cup original trophy will be displayed at several tourist hotspots across Qatar from today to May the 10th. And Roman Abramovich has denied he wants his £1.5 billion loan Premier League side Chelsea repaid. The club was put up for sale by Abramovich in March, just before he was sanctioned by the UK government for his links to Russian President Vladimir Putin following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Abramovich said he would not be asking for his loans to the Blues to be repaid and that proceeds from the sale of the club would go to a charitable foundation for all the victims of the war in Ukraine. And that's Sports News. Thank you for watching. I'm Victor Matthias. It's back to Millicent.
Thank you, Victor. And the main news again. More political bigwigs jostled to fly the APC presidential ticket. Former Governor of Ogun State, Senator Amosun, today joined the list as he formally declared to run for the #1 seat in the land at a well-attended event in Abuja. Also today, the Vice President, Professor Osinbajo, and Pastor Tunde Bakare picked up the APC expression of interest in nomination forms. While Pastor Bakare personally picked his form, the Vice President's form was picked on his behalf by Senator Kabiru Gaya and members of his support group. And that's News at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.